Alright everybody, this is part of the Noah Talks About Everything YouTube channel, and today we're talking about basketball. So I'm a big basketball fan. I'm not in the best shape of my life these days, but I'm trying to get back in shape. But anyway, today, maybe some of you guys don't know how much I play basketball and how much I like basketball, but I'm obsessed with it, and I know a few things about it. And I like to watch, I've been watching the NBA a lot this year, and really last year as well. And I know quite a bit about the different things that have been going on in the league. I know a lot about a lot of the different players. And I've watched I've spent a decent amount of hours watching different games. And I think basketball is a fascinating game. I think it's a metaphor for life, just like most sports are. You can learn a lot of life lessons, and watching sports, well, it can be very inspiring. It's almost like a microcosm of life. And so you get to watch how all these different masters of the game handle adversity and handle just situational things and rise above it or don't. And so last night I had the pleasure of watching a game, Golden State Warriors versus the Houston Rockets. I was very excited for this matchup. I think they're two of the best teams in the league. This year in particular, the Rockets have struggled quite a bit, although recently they've been doing very well. The Rockets were one of the best teams last year. This season, they started off really struggling. So this game, at this point in the season, I thought it was a really good challenge. Golden State is one of the best teams ever, although Golden State has been struggling a little bit as of recently. But the game was a really interesting one, and the great thing about the Rockets, the Rockets can always just score. You can never really count the Rockets out because they can go on scoring sprees. They can score a lot of points very quickly. This game, there were a number of things that happened. Well, also, I'll set the stage by saying Golden State was up by 17 points at the half, and the Rockets are led by James Harden, and they have two of their main players out with injuries, I believe. James Harden has a history of sometimes struggling in really intense moments, really clutch moments. Sometimes he can't be completely relied on. He's not as clutch as some of the other stars in the league. He seems to be much better with the more relaxed pace moments. He takes advantage of situations, more comfortable situations. But when the pressure is on, when the heat is on, and everyone's playing their absolute hardest, a lot of times he doesn't find the right play in those situations. He really came through last night, and it was inspiring to watch, especially because the play before, Golden State went up by 2 points off of a save, an out-of-bounds save by Kevin Durant, in which he was literally running out of bounds for multiple steps, nowhere close to saving the ball. The most obvious thing I've ever seen, and the refs missed it. And I don't know how you missed that. Their brains must have been frozen. I can't believe they didn't see that. I mean, I guess they didn't. It happens to everyone at some point where you blow a call. That one was absolutely horrible, and I would expect that people would be talking about that on ESPN or wherever. It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. I think that's a very important game. At this point in the season, Golden State struggling and the Rockets having two of their main players out, I think it was a really important game for both teams. And it all came down to, the last few seconds in overtime where it's a tie ball game and they blow that call. So the refs blow it, and the ball finds its way to Curry, and he hits a jumper for 2 points, puts the Warriors up by 2, and then Harden does what he does sometimes, and he basically chokes, gets himself into a situation where he doesn't know exactly what to do. He picks up his dribble, and I agree with what I saw some people on ESPN say, which is he came up with a really clever, crafty, brilliant move where he threw the ball off of Steph Curry's leg in order to get his dribble back. And it's hard to tell if that's actually what he was doing or he was trying to throw a bounce pass. But I think he really did throw it off of his leg, which was just so risky and such quick thinking. If that's actually what he did, it's really impressive. The refs ended up calling it a kick ball, which doesn't really make sense, but that's what they called it, which was a good thing for the Rockets because it meant that the clock would stop and they get to inbound the ball. And the shot that then James Harden takes to basically end the game was just ridiculous. And he hits a shot over two defenders where he's just barely not getting blocked, and knocks it down with 1 second left. And it was one of the most clutch, great shots I've ever seen. And especially to do that after that out of bounds play where he was the closest player to Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant is literally just running in the out of bounds territory and then saving the ball. To see that and see that the refs missed that call, which should be an immediate turnover, and then the Rockets will have the ball with a tie ball game and probably the shot, I think no shot clock, I think it was under 24 seconds. So they get to take the last shot of overtime and they're in a perfect position. And instead, the refs blow one of the most obvious calls you'll ever see. The Golden State Warriors go up 2 points. And it all happens so fast. If I'm James Harden and I see that, for you to deal with the emotions of that and get focused on hitting a game winner, because at the end of games, usually at the end of games, they go on and on and on, and there's all these timeouts, and the refs are looking at the replays. And it's crazy to me that you can't look at that play because it's so obvious. I mean, they're all going to see that today. They're all going to see that on the news. Everyone's going to see that. To have that happen and then to come back on the other side and get focused and knock down this ridiculous game winner was very impressive. I was very happy for James Harden. I'm not a huge James Harden fan because I think he's figured out, he's got like cheat codes to the NBA. He's very quick, he's strong, he's got a pretty sharp mind for things, and he reads the defender so well, and his reaction is just, he's so quick, and that's what makes him get by people so easily, is really his ability to read the defender and make an adjustment like that. If he just sees the defender make a slight movement, he can react almost instantly and get by them. And he's a great shooter, but he's figured out how to maneuver his body when he shoots or when he dribbles or when he does different things that basically makes it almost impossible to really defend the shot without fouling him. And he also, he flops. I mean, he will do his best to sell the foul. I generally don't like that. I think your goal is to score. Your goal is not to get fouled. And so you do your best to score, and then you let the refs call the game. I think generally he's kind of figured out a way to play the game that uses the rules to his own advantage in a way that undermines the sport. What he did last night was special. And so, awesome job, James Harden. If you haven't seen that game, you should go check it out. It's a good game.